Hey everybody, welcome back to You Are Free TV. It is Tuesday, November 4th, Election Day 2025, and I am so glad to be back with you here on the channel. I'll jump in with my disclaimer. This video is for entertainment purposes only. It is protected by the United States Constitution protecting free speech, as well as the Sullivan Act on reporting. It is not intended to bully or harass anyone, never to incite violence, hatred, or lawlessness of any kind. It doesn't give legal, medical, or financial advice, and there are further disclaimers in the description below. And I'm so glad to be back with you here today. Whew, we have so much news, and it's very intense. So, of course, tomorrow is the one-year anniversary of Trump's election, this third time around. And, of course, yesterday was the 5th-year anniversary of the stealing of the 2020 election. And we're right here in the grip of it. We have tomorrow the extremely important Supreme Court decision regarding tariffs that we'll be talking about. And of course, this supposed No Kings rally that's going to be happening in DC. They're saying that they're going to encircle the Capitol, encircle the White House, demanding the fall of Donald Trump. I mean, it's ridiculous. We'll see if they actually continue with it. That they said they are, but who knows? But there's so much going on. So I'm going to jump in with the news. But of course, I start by saying thank you. Thank you so much for supporting the channel, especially the monthly donors. You are the ones. Without you, this channel wouldn't even exist. Seriously. I want to thank Dottie for joining up for that monthly donation. And also thank you to Nancy for the donation. And thank you so much for everything that you people do with your prayers and news tips. Again, right now it's lean times, and without that monthly support, this channel just really can't happen. So thank you. And of course, I want to mention that it is the first time I'm up here in November, and so we get the giveaway of the C60 Evo caps. This is c60evo.com/YAFTV, code YAFTV for 10% off. And what's fantastic about Evo is that they allow me to give away 2 bottles of the capsules every month to people who donate to the channel, and a random selection. And this month we have John and Janice, and you should have received your emails already. We send them out as free giveaways as a thank you to people who support the channel, and we're so grateful. And I'll do a bigger plug for this fantastic company at the end. But just know that if you donate to the channel, you get 15% off with a different code, different link sent to you. And this is the best carbon 60 product. They call it the ESS 60 molecule because it is made in the finest lab in the world in Houston, Texas, in a reactor that completely purifies it down to the level of, beyond 99.999%. Basically, they're not allowed to say 100%, but it is what's used in all the studies because they are the OGs of carbon 60. So more studies coming up. We'll be doing a great interview later in the month about it. Okay, and so here we go with the news, and thanks so much. We're going to jump in. Of course, we have, there's a lot of great news. I was going to start with the really life-affirming news, which is fantastic. But I do think I have to start with the, ding dong, the dick is dead, right? Dick Cheney dead at 84. That was it his second heart transplant that finally gave out with pneumonia and etc. And he is dead at 84. He's gone where the goblins go, below, 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 right? And it's God's. He's in God's hands now, right? And Dick Cheney being the incredible. Really just one of the most massive globalist criminals in our history there under George H.W. Bush. And I will second what Steve Bannon had to say earlier today when he said, we hope that as they do his, ride there for his funeral or whatever, his state funeral, that it goes by Section 60 of the Arlington Cemetery, where that is where the slaughtered men and women of course, the war on terror all lie in their graves, okay, as Haliburton, Dick Cheney's company, made billions of dollars off of the war on terror and all of it coming to fruition. He was Secretary of Defense, of course, under George H.W., and then comes in as the VP under George W. He was chief of staff at like 34 years old for Gerald Ford. Okay, he's been in it a long time. He got some hearts. Now RFK Jr. is doing a huge revamp and some prosecutions coming of the stealing of organs from alive people for the big med industry, and revamping that entire industry. I hopefully might have some good uh, insider news on that soon. I'm working on that. But very, very important. This is as Liz Cheney, of course, is, um, kind of fighting for her, whatever's going to come for her, as we see with the auto pen scandal, everything coming out, that her pardon, that I'm sure she, not sure for entertainment purposes only, but this was a huge pay for play auto pen pardons. And I'm sure the J6 commission was not exempt from this pay for play to get these pardons. And they are being very much considered null and void under everything coming out. And of course, huge, massive call for all of those aides and others involved in the running of the rogue non-presidency that was stolen from Trump, okay, to prosecute the people who ran our government, okay, and ran our country into the ground using the auto pen. So Liz Cheney has a lot to be grieving today, maybe her own freedom, because of course, I think there's some prison bars in her future for entertainment purposes only. And so very interesting as we see this. So that's what's going on there. But we also have this great news and so much more. The elections, there's just so much in this. But I do want to say here, great news with HHS and RFK Jr. Basically making his announcement that mercury called thimerosal in the vaccines will be taken out of all of the vaccines. Okay, so that's fantastic. I'm on the never another shot. I'm on team no shots. But basically getting the mercury out is huge. It's a massive, obviously, neurotoxin, and as used as a preservative, yeah, pickles your brain. It just makes mercury. Okay, and so very interesting. We have RFK Jr. coming out and saying, why is it, okay, that they made this huge push, and that brought us our LED lights, it brought us all of these climate garbage baloney to destroy our health in different ways, taking away our incandescents, etc. But to take mercury out of, lamps and batteries and cosmetics and all this stuff. And he says, but why does mercury still get to be in dental fillings right next to our brains? Why does mercury keep getting to be in injections in the body? So that is huge and fantastic news. And he's also asking on the Minamata Convention, their 6th annual convention in Geneva, Switzerland, that's kicked off yesterday, for all countries to also take mercury out of these shots. So that is fantastic and awesome. On a little aside, the terrorist now being the president of Syria is coming here on I believe Monday of next week to the White House. So we have Syrian terrorists who, while Trump is saying, "Oh, those Christians being slaughtered in Nigeria," we'll get into that. The man who's slaughtering the Christians in Syria right now and is a jihadist held by our CIA and etc. for his Wahhabism, is now coming to the United States, to the White House as a president of Syria, right? Disgusting and awful. And so, but we also have Viktor Orban coming next week, which is exciting because we're seeing behind the scenes a lot of push for these people who are the incredible resistors of the EU and the NATO push for World War III. Basically, on the table here is getting out of both the EU and NATO. And that's what needs to happen. And so it'll be very interesting to see what Orban and Trump are going to be talking about. And so I want to move from there to just express my opinion here regarding Trump's call to end the filibuster. And this is huge because, it's always the thing, oh, we have to stick with, the rules, we have to stick with it. This is the way, our government's run, and et cetera. Asking for the Senate to end the filibuster, making it very clear that, look, they're calling for this constantly in the Democrat side. They almost were able to do it last time. If we lose the 2026 elections, the filibuster's gone. Not only that, they're going to pack the Supreme Court, et cetera, and calling for this. People don't understand that in the Senate, okay, just to stretch this out a bit, in 1913, as they were rolling out, of course, the Fed, and instead of doing tariffs and taxing other countries to take our goods from the USA, they decided to make Americans pay the taxes and let everybody from other countries just take what they want from the USA, free of charge, free of tariffs, free of a tax. And so they used to tax the outsiders. Instead, they turned it to tax us. Well, at the same time, what did we get? We get the huge change in Senate. The Senate used to be, of course, senators were chosen by the state's legislature. Okay, this had to be with people who had a storied record, okay, of their ability to, run to be basically elected by their peers, okay, in legislature, to be then brought in as senators by the people who actually know that they are civically responsible. Instead, in 1913, they changed it to be the popular vote of democracy to elect senators. And this is what we have now. We're stuck with a Senate who doesn't do anything. And we're in this pickle, okay, because we have 3 years and we have so much to get done, and we're in a war here, okay. America has been occupied by deep state globalist bankster forces, set for demolition. They tried to do it through the last 4 years after stealing the election in an illegal coup, and now they're going to try to do that in 2026. We have election day today, of course, with Islamist Mamdani, the communist, who just hasn't been here, 6 years a citizen. There's a lot of activism about revoking his citizenship based on him lying on his naturalization forms that he doesn't have any animus towards the American system, and we'll get into that a bit. But this filibuster, Trump saying we need to take the nuclear option and take care of the filibuster, get rid of the filibuster, so that we can actually get the big beautiful bill things, legislated, get it done. We will never get it done if we don't move quick. And so I'm on board with that. And if you are too, 202-224-3121 is your number for your senators. Okay, we need to call them, tell them you support this, if you do, and that we need to move forward, because the packing of the Supreme Court, the destruction of the filibuster is coming, okay, in 2026, if we get these fraudulent elections continuing. They can't stop all of the illegal voting. We saw today in New York, in New Jersey, these BOMB threats at the red polling stations, the ones that are more aligned towards Republican principles, or the anti-Mamdani places in New York. That thing is a total SHIT show of how the Republicans just let this happen. Okay, Cuomo, who do primaries mean anything? He was primaried out. Okay, he lost the primary, and then he just gets to come up and be the independent, right, against Sliwa instead of supporting Sliwa. And so we see that, basically, I think this is just a jump for him to go to run again, try for 2028, POTUS, Dems. That's what I'm saying. And so we need to understand that these are loaded guns, okay, for the deep state globalists against our country. And if we don't take them in hand and be brave, right? Courage is a prerequisite to freedom, and you can't hold on to it if you don't fight. This is our 3 years. Okay, this isn't some option that's going to come again. So I don't want to keep beating that, but I wanted to make it known. So I'm going to cover here for the next few minutes something that I think is really important regarding Charlie Kirk and what George Webb has been bringing up, and of course Candace Owen keeps doing a big job. And we know that we know that so many people don't want me to talk about it. I'm going to talk about it because I think it's really important, especially when we hear about the Egyptian plane scenario, right? In this very real, very concrete, real situation of this Egyptian diplomatic military plane with diplomatic immunity that was in Provo, Utah, and did these low flybys for like 45 minutes over UVU in Orem, um, and basically from like 5 minutes after Charlie Kirk was shot, for 45 minutes after. And what I find is very interesting about this, and why I'm going to talk about it with what George Webb brought up, and it's linked below if you want to check out the Substack for yourself. This was this Egyptian diplomatic military immunity plane. Okay, this is what Candace Owens has been covering. This is the SU-BTT Falcon Tri-Jet. And what is so incredible here is that on this, we get the Armed Diplomatic Security Service officers. Very interesting with Candace today, she brought up that they have geofenced and found out that there were 10 Israeli cell phones on the ground at UVU that were specifically geofenced as Israeli accounts for cell phones. Okay, so just putting that out there. But with this Egyptian diplomatic immunity plane, this is the same plane that seems to have been, as Candace has been covering the last few days, around so many TPUSA events in the last couple of years. Literally, this plane from Egypt, okay, that has diplomatic immunity, carrying generally armed diplomatic security service officers. And the thing about the 12 Israeli cell phones is interesting because it is 12 people who are said to be on this plane when it arrived on the 4th of September and then left on the 10th. But we get this whole situation of the circling of UVU. And this is very interesting because just what I'm going to lay out here is what George Webb had to say about how this works with these diplomatic planes. They are sovereign. They're sovereign. Okay, they are. Yeah. Okay. So I'm going to lay out what he says about what goes on with diplomatic planes, and this is basically this jet would have been treated as Egyptian sovereign territory. The passengers are immune from arrest or prosecution, just like everything we've seen in so many years about diplomats getting into trouble and they get immunity. We can't quite say it about the guy who fled back to Israel, who was the pedo arrested in Las Vegas and released to flee with, Chad Siegel out there in Las Vegas. In Nevada, he was arrested for soliciting a minor there, and he's head of the drone digital dome system to do with drone technology. That is what's his name? Sorry, I'm getting kind of amped up here, but Tom Alexandrovich, right? He solicited a minor. He was arrested in a sting operation already going on. And then he's arrested, and we get Chada Siegel, others, letting him go, flee back to Israel, right? This is this kind of immunity. And did he even have diplomatic immunity? I don't know. But this is the kind of thing I'm talking about. So the passengers on these diplomatic planes are immune from arrest or prosecution. They are immune from search, seizure, or detention, and they're exempt from inspection by customs, right, and TSA. We've seen for years and years, right, all this funneling of drugs, money, kids all of this stuff going on with these diplomatic planes. We talk about a lot about it out of Florida, et cetera, during all of our looking into, whether it's Pizzagate or whatever. And so this jet that has been around, that Candace Owens has been talking about, this jet, the SUBTT, and she has talked about many others, and I might dig back more into that, but her other one was N708JH, right? These are at all these events for a couple of years, like just kind of seem to pop up. And she's been covering how, it was different TPUSA stuff going on. And so my point here, okay, is that I think an angle to look at that's very interesting, as we know Charlie Kirk was installing a Doge in TPUSA, that he was very concerned about what was going on with the money, where was it going, in and out so quick, millions and millions of dollars, and wanted to basically look at the money and get, as well as his separation from Israel and all of that. But I think this is really important for people who are so just like, this is a white hat thing, Charlie's in Valhalla, he's in New Zealand, whatever. I think it's really important to look at this, because if this plane was going everywhere around TPUSA for all of these times, and the stuff to do with these pastors, I think, I'm not going to get into their names here, but NAR, I think, is what, Candace had, sort of nicknamed them. Is this about the money, right? Is it about the money, not just about, Israel or whatever, and then pulling the funds, but is this about money with a diplomatic plane, okay, that's flying in and out, okay, back and forth to Cairo through Delaware every time? Is this about money? Is this about a diplomatic immunity military plane that is taking money in away, taking money out of the USA or whatever else? That seems to make a lot of sense, the money laundering aspect and this, Egyptian diplomatic back channels. Okay, so that's all I'm going to say on that. I also want to throw in there, I think it's really interesting because out of the Arctic frost stuff that came out, hugely Gabbard, awesome. We get Grassley, who is just, fantastic at 92. He still goes to every county. Senator Grassley, he's just the real senator who goes and visits people still every time, all the time during his breaks, going to talk to his constituents and doing the heavy lifting always with getting these documents released. And so with Arctic frost and everything coming out, and of course Comey is up the old SHIT creek, okay, with the new stuff coming out on him, the burn bag stuff, we'll get into that in a moment, but also the new stuff around, it was Trump's emails and his phone was totally captured and all of this. Huge, okay, but just to, one thing that came out of these, what was being brought out with Jack Smith and the Arctic frost and the million subpoenas and collecting of everybody's information, part of that was event strategies. Okay, they were part of this surveillance situation, event strategies. And event strategies, I believe, was the people who volunteered here at UVU to help run this event where Charlie was assassinated. And there was the strange thing about the guy who, the UVU, the event strategies guy who was, trying to get the actual TPUSA member away from the camera, who was saying, oh, the shot happened from right here. It was really close. It was right in front. And there's more footage that's come out, HD footage showing, that it looked like it came from right out front, all of this, right? But I think it's very interesting. Event strategies has showed up in Arctic frost because they were involved in the J6 event, okay? And if we remember with the J6 event, there was all this massive, these rallies were planned, but there was the stage rallies, right? And they were supposed to be in one place. They moved the entire rally to a different location. They did all this different staging, and it turns out event strategies was involved in that. So it's an interesting point of something to consider. And so I'm just putting that out there because I think it's important information. And so let's move on from there. I think I'm going to go to, let's see, where am I at? I've got a bunch of things here. Oh yeah, let's talk Comey. Okay, so we've got this boomerang on Comey, okay, because he came out, he's saying he's being persecuted, right? Lindsay Halligan doing massively great work. We have to wonder, okay, today is election day, and we've got, of course, Winsome Sears, who didn't want Trump's endorsement because it's two women and she's a black woman and trying to get the women vote. And of course, Spamberger, or whatever her name is, she is the CIA plant, okay, who worked at the school training the Saudi TISTS, right? And she's, running against Winsome Sears, who is, seems fantastic, but we don't get Trump's endorsement there. But we also, this is Virginia with, of course, we get Lindsay Halligan. They're trying to, sue her, get her off as this appointed U.S. Senate or U.S. attorney there, and she's doing fantastic job here with this Comey indictment. And it's very interesting as we watch all this go along, because with Obama's coming, he's for Spamberger, he wants Mikey Sherrill up there in New Jersey, huge turnout of Republicans in New Jersey. Basically, they larger turnout right now for Chitterelli in New Jersey than even the Republicans came out for Trump a year ago. So fantastic, as they're doing all of everything they can to mess up the polling stations, etc. But with Comey, this is great. And we have to, Obama also came out for Jay Jones, the AG, right, in Virginia, running, right? And so, we pray God's intervention, that at least the AG wins there. And we wish that Winsome Sears had gone for Trump's endorsement instead of shying away from it, because that seems to be the death knell of these people, thinking they can, if you don't embrace the full thing, okay, then you tend to lose. And we're in a war here right now, a war for every single governor and Senate and House seat, etc. But and so with Jay Jones, it's like, oh, he said he's going to, in his things, he says he wants to kill his opponent, he wants to kill their kids, and etc. And it's like, oh, well, if he gets in, what the heck? We need armed guards around Lindsay Halligan and everybody else. But what we have here with the Comey boomerang from came out, John Solomon did great reporting, justthenews.com, of course, where Comey's handwritten notes, okay, this is a burn bag situation. This is this incredible, super, this skiff, okay, this closet skiff vault room, right? That, of course, Kash Patel announced and Dan Bongino that they have this, and we've got so much squirrely Kash Patel stuff going on. But a few months ago, they said, hey, we've got these burn bags. This is huge. This is, everything. And Patel is trying to fight Gabbard for her power over as ODNI for control of the information, or at least that she's involved, right? Trying to shut down the Egyptians, okay, the plane, trying to shut down, hey, we have information about foreign involvement in the Charlie Kirk murder, and we need to get it out. And Kash Patel squashing the international investigation and now going full bore anti-Gabbard in her role as ODNI and the task force with Joe Kent involved in charge of this national fusion anti-terrorism task force in the U.S. We have all this information. Oh, we nope, kill that, says Kash Patel. And I don't care about his girlfriend and the private jet and all that, whatever. But I do care about his CCP money. That seems to be real. But I don't think I'm even have time for that today. So what we get here is with the Comey boomerang, back to that, okay, is we get James Comey now, these handwritten notes coming out to basically shut down everything he said prior. You know, we have your handwritten notes, okay, referring to the John Brennan briefing about that we're going to fake this briefing to give to Trump. All of it, it's all there. And this is a superseding indictments, okay? Mike Walsh over at Article 3 project.com, doing great work here, ap3.org, I believe. I think article3project.org. But I think ap3.org gets you to the same place. But these are superseding indictments that are coming. And we keep hearing these are basically the appetizers, almost getting more lies told by Comey, where there's all kinds of stuff, the HRC email scandal coming up, him being thanked for gratitude for his handling of that whole situation to squash the evidence getting out, even though it already came out in WikiLeaks. And we get him thanking, talking to Dan Richman over there at Columbia, right, where he, you know, was leaking the information to him at Columbia, the professor, and they were giving it to the New York Times. Who knows, just saying for entertainment purposes only how much pay for play was involved there. That I'm sure will come out. But basically Comey instructing him, these are handwritten notes, to make the New York Times leaked stories even spicier. They're not spicy enough. We need to elevate this, escalate this. And so these incredible burn bags obviously were kept by good FBI. They were somehow saved and stuffed away in this kind of closet. They keep calling it a closet, but it's basically a makeshift skiff. And things were kept off the books, and multiple new lies coming out on Jim Comey and these written notes. So this is fantastic. This is going to up the ante, and it is great. Okay, so let's see where we're going to go from there. Let's talk about Jack Ciattarelli, right? What, you know, the huge, massive Republican turnout as they've been doing. The BOMB threats at the red areas, the red polling stations, swatting, okay, different things with calls. Oh, there's this happening at this polling station, trying to hold up the vote. But we're having massive turnout, huge prayers there, and one thing I love is basically said, you know, one of their chants is Ciattarelli saying, "When I say save, you say," and they say, "the plastic bag," right? Because we've gone through thousands of years of history, right? China, I think, was responsible for creating supposedly the first bowls and carafes or whatever to hold things, okay, that actually elevated humanity to a level of where we could store and carry and do great things. And the plastic bag is sort of the pinnacle of that, okay? These handy plastic bags that people, instead, the disgusting deep state scum, these plastic bags can be easily reverse engineered back into the chemicals they came from. They can be easily recycled back into useful chemicals. Okay, so this, you know, the waste, yes, the China, you know, plastic sea thing, all of that, it's disgusting and awful, but it's because of how our greedy, disgusting, evil doers, okay, want to go for cheap, disposable trash, non-responsibility, rather than using things the right way. And so Ciattarelli's love of the plastic bag for everybody who is deprived of them in the United States and abroad, you know, New Jersey saving the plastic bag. I love it. Okay, and so I wanted to mention that, but we get the, you know, the huge turnout. There's a lot going on. It's very exciting. And you know, there's a vote in Texas today that's not being talked about. This is to ban, basically to set up for the future, to ban capital gains tax. Okay, if it can't be introduced through the radical the radical left that is massively and Islamists moving in to Texas, and to ban any future inheritance taxes as well as other things. So that's huge. We have the Prop 50 in California, where they're trying to make California Massachusetts, trying to deprive at least 5 more seats from Republican districts. There's huge pushback there. We know all the cheating that's been going on. And of course, in Cuomo and New York City, we get the Hasidic Jews in New York City backing Cuomo. We get this massive, this problem, okay? The globalists use our incredible American civics, our republic, and our nature, okay, of growing up here and this situation of independence and self-reliance and I do me, you do you, and respect, and this problem with the Republicans of not understanding that they want to squash us under their thumbs like bugs, and that this problem here that we have was with how this happened in the first place. Okay, that Cuomo lost the primary, should never have been able to come back. He lost. Oh no, now I'm going to come back as an independent. Instead of supporting Sliwa from the beginning, and why Sliwa? Why is there not a good Republican candidate? Okay, because Republicans never win in New York, right? The times have changed. People have changed. The country's in a different place. And Sadiq Khan out of London, London Stan, who was knighted, okay, by King Charles. That's what the aim is here for New York. And we have, of course, 800 years, well, 1,200 years of history of Islamist invasions across Western civilization to institute the caliphate everywhere they go. And nothing against the Muslims who don't want to do that. But however, that has been history. And that is London. And we know in the prisons now, we get the situation here where the prisons in the US are now being infiltrated massively by Islamist gangs because they're committing the crimes and they're ending up in prison, not as much as they should. But just as we have with the cartel gangs, and you have to give allegiance to one or the other, the Islamist gangs are now massively huge and building on that, forced conversions in the prisons, etc. And we have to stop it. We have to stop it. We, of course, have the mayor in Michigan as well, right? Or Minnesota as well, Fatah. And his allegiance to Somalia, literally openly saying it, crazy, Somalia being the center of Islamist slave trade, okay? And of course, Ilhan Omar's family coming out of that, that historical role in that situation, to the point where Somalia even said we don't want Ilhan Omar back. Okay, so moving on from there, I want to get to we're praying for the elections. If you have not voted, you better get out there and vote, and bring some people to vote with you. New York, Virginia, everywhere, California, Texas, all of these places are so important right now. And let's see where I'm going here now. Well, we have in Brazil, of course, the coming up towards the end of the month, we get COP30. And that's the climate baloney, steal everything from the USA, steal our money, destroy the energy industry. This is, the climate cult, but the cabal, okay, the World Economic Forum, the globalist cabal, trying to steal everything and create a technocratic society where you have to beg to use energy, to ride any transportation, and have food, Cuba style, which is, they're we love Cuba, the socialists, communists, and in Cuba you have to have a ration card to even go get food in the market. Okay, you can't just go in there and buy food. You have to present your card. They give you, one bread roll is all you're allowed. It's very strict. That is called, because they're starving the people. It was Miami, Havana and everything was beautiful. It's gorgeous, and they destroyed it, and everybody's suffering, as we know. But COP30 in Brazil, USA, Trump, has said that we are not be sending any real delegates to this COP30. We're out. We're building our energy infrastructure back. You guys can suck eggs. And it's so interesting here because what they're doing, this is in Belém, and Belém, Brazil. This is Lula. This is the person trying to destroy and ultimately kill Bolsonaro, imprison his son. All of it. Well, in Belém, in Brazil, this is in the Amazon. They cut down massive amounts of area in the Amazon to build this 4-lane highway, okay, to this place for the delegates of COP30 to arrive in their private jets with their massive carbon footprint and attend this gathering, which is their focus, their main focus is rainforest protection. Rainforest protection, right. And of course, financing developing nations, right? Like China finally said, supposedly, in these agreements with Trump, they would give up their developing nation status as they invade everywhere. And it has everything to do with Nigeria. And Trump saying, we're coming to save the Christians of Nigeria. Horrible, horrible genocide of the Christians in Nigeria. Again, the Muslim invasion and the Muslims used by the CCP and the globalists to be their broom, their terror agents to go and destroy Western civilization. Well, same here with Boko Haram. I believe in Niger there was a USA missionary recently kidnapped, and the mass destruction of these Christian areas. And Trump saying we're getting ready to do something here, and it's not only about the Christians, but it is. Okay, because the Christian land is what they want, and this has everything to do with the CCP. And don't forget, Big Med, Big Pharma, huge with Nigeria. Okay, for a decade or more, massive every year. These AIDS conferences that go on there, huge before the pandemic. All of the meetings up in Nigeria, what they were planning, huge Bill Gates, huge with Gavi, all of it out of Nigeria. And of course, the CCP being huge in this as well, the Belt and Roads in Nigeria. And so it's a twofer, threefer. And it is what Trump is doing across the world. As you hear on mainstream news, they're talking about, we've got Trump, he's just going around the world, he doesn't care about America. No, Trump is chasing down the cartel banksters, okay, of the New World Order, whatever, the cartel Babylon, chasing them down around the world to intervene to stop how they are generating all these black book incredible amounts of massive money. And because we're the world, the World Economic Forum, the world in general of this cartel Babylon is running their economies through the economy of sin. And so much of it is this extra black book situation. And it is the cartels, and it is the money laundering. It is everywhere that they're doing it, Trump is chasing it down. And it's why he's doing these bilateral agreements, and it's why it's so important what he's doing. And it's why tomorrow is so important with this tariff Supreme Court decision. And I'm sure there'll be huge, protests and whatever. Trump isn't going. He had said he would go to this hearing. He's going to be in Miami tomorrow talking business, talking, let's make Miami fantastic again. And of course, in Miami will be his new presidential library. However, Scott Bessent will be there. Brawler Bessent will be there, and of course has been architecting so much of this with the tariffs and the USA's right to at least equally tariff the people who, all the countries around the world, tariffing us. And we have our first ever German seeking asylum in the USA, Naomi Zeit, at Zeit Naomi, Seibt, on X. But she worked with the Deutschland Courier, very involved with AFD, and she has been having death threats. She's been totally surveilled. She's seeking asylum in the USA from, as Trump had offered, earlier this year that the USA would accept asylum from the EU people who were suffering under mass migration, Tism, and the EU's assault on their freedoms. And she is seeking asylum here as a very outspoken German woman. And I believe Anna Paulina Luna is on board now to get her asylum. And so, it's very important because Germany is the key to breaking Europe free. If Germany can survive, if the people can hold fast and really go against the EU government there, with Ursula von der Leyen now has, I think, 3 votes of no confidence, but it doesn't matter because she's not elected, right? She's just this daughter of a Nazi spy and a English spy. She's comes from all of those places. Rose, good old Rose, they used to call her. And she's been high up in the European International, which is, of course, the post-World War II Nazi contingent trying to create this one world plan, one world government. And in Germany, if they can break through, they're the most powerful government in the EU. And so that's why we see all these AfD candidates dying suddenly right before elections and all of this. So more power to her that she can get that asylum. So I think that's fantastic news, and it's great to see that that it's being taken advantage of to get the word out there, because we have people like Jim Rickards, who used to be a CIA analyst, economic analyst, and he is massively America first. And he went to Slovenia recently, and he was saying, hey, Slovenia, the best thing you can do, right, and all the Balkans, is get out of NATO and get out of the EU. If you want to save your economy and you also want to save your country and your sovereignty, you have to get out of the NATO and EU. And again, comes up, with Viktor Orban and Fico in Slovakia, right? These countries that need to get out of the EU. And we're hoping, as we saw in the last couple of days, Russia has made some of its biggest wins yet, and really locking down its positions there in Ukraine. Trump is giving them this time, not giving, but what I mean is buying time with these secondary, or these sanctions, okay, on Lukoil and Rosneft. And Rosneft is more the state-controlled company. Lukoil comes mostly out of, I think it's Azerbaijan, it's Azerbaijan, and its investors are globalists, okay, and they're having to sell off subsidiaries right now. They are the ones that this is really hurting, which means it's really hurting the banksters out of the EU and the oligarchs, okay, that run Lukoil. So these are all just smoke and mirrors while Russia's hardened in, okay. And of course, we had Kirill Dmitriev coming to the U.S. 2 weekends ago. He had a great, I'll link it below. There's part 1 and 2. I'm going to link one below, but you can find the other, his interview with Lara Logan. He was actually schooled in Stanford and Harvard Business. He is the, Q guy from Russia, asking these Socratic questions back to the USA. He's special envoy to the USA from Russia, but also in charge of the Russian sovereign wealth fund. Okay, so he's kind of Scott Bessent of Russia. I wonder if he'll be at this Miami meeting tomorrow. That pokes into my mind that I haven't heard that he actually left the U.S. I would imagine, he's a pretty busy guy. But it would be interesting because he has been in Florida meeting, okay, with the people like Anna Paulina Luna and all of this, and meetings around this this bridge, okay, that from across the Bering Strait, from Alaska to Russia. And he came out and said on this interview with Lara Logan, he said, hey, Elon Musk says that he can build this with his boring company. He can build this underground railway system, this undersea railway system, for only $8 billion. We thought it would cost at least $30 billion. He's saying he can do it in $8 billion. Okay, so there's huge stuff going on behind the scenes that is much more much more, much more going on behind the scenes is all I'm saying. That there is, of course, the what comes out in the mainstream talking points versus what's going on behind the scenes in the USA's defeat of the globalists. And I think one thing that's really interesting in all of this was, of course, coming out from. Let me grab the name of this. I think it's kind of important. The outfit called the Americans for Public Trust put out this great document, it's like 31 pages, detailing the EU billionaires' involvement in trying to destroy the American energy infrastructure, everything climate, and as this COP30 thing. And interesting, I think that Prince William is attending this COP30 thing. Okay, this is instead of Charles, and so that's a whole aside. We'll dig more into that as it comes. But basically, these billions and billions coming from EU billionaires to destroy, be behind the Sunrise Movement, recruit the kids in college, like hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars from these different people and create this color revolution stuff. And it breaks down. There's this company called nonprofit NGO, right? Quadrature Foundation out of the UK. We're getting, I think it's like $700 million or something into these kinds of groups. The KR Foundation from the Carlsberg family out of Denmark with a lot less, something like $30 million or something. I don't have the don't hold me to it. I don't have the exact numbers in front of me. The Oak Foundation out of Switzerland, a billionaire I believe named Alex Parker out of the UK, the Oak Foundation, huge, hundreds of billions of dollars. The Louds Foundation, the Bennick Myers out of Switzerland. So, and then this very interesting thing called the Children's Investment Fund Foundation, Children's Investment Fund Foundation out of Sir Christopher Hone out of the UK. So this is, we need to understand behind it all, we get City of London, whether it's Islamists, whether it is oligarch, historical, Jewish oligarchs out of, Eastern Russia, Ukraine, etc., Balkans, banksters out of course, the royals out of the Netherlands and out of the King Charles ilk, right? Coutts Bank, remember Coutts Bank, and DeSantis's sister, Catherine, who is with us no longer because she suddenly died with no explanation, with nothing after she decided to audit a few accounts having to do with the Queen, right? Coutts Bank out of one of the oldest banks in the UK out of the City of London. And so it's important to understand that it all gets back to the same cabal of intelligence that that has been running this destruction of the USA for over 100 years, and really heated up post-World War II. And of course, in the last 30 years, full-on destruction mode. In the last 4 years, turbo destruction mode. And so Trump is our chance. These 3 years are vital. And I am full bore ahead that there absolutely should do the nuclear option. We need to take down these people while we can and use the people we have right now to do it. And they're already not trustworthy, right? And so we need to push everything through. And so that's where I stand at the moment. Okay, and I will end with this. We now have Skydio, because I was mentioning before Tom Alexandrovich, right, the pedophile who runs the drone dome, basically digital dome system out of, Tel Aviv or Haifa, who got, funneled back to Israel after being caught in this this online trying to entrap a minor male, I believe, for sex. Well, his digital dome system that he's in charge of, okay, is is connected with this company called Skydio, which is now operational in the USA. And I believe it was founded in the USA, but massively has Israel funds behind it, but it also uses AI NVIDIA chips to control it. And it's what they used. They test cased it in Gaza for targeting everybody who then was slaughtered, right? And now it's actually operating here in the USA. And so we've got to get on that and, chase it down. So I might leave it there with the news for tonight. We'll be watching the elections, and tomorrow we'll be getting into it. Huge day tomorrow as well. Just a massive week in the ongoing fight to save America and Western civilization from the people who would have it be destroyed. So thanks so much for watching. If you found something that was added value in this video and you want to support the channel, I appreciate it so much. There's ways to do so below, and it's how these videos happen. Thank you. And I will plug for my fantastic, awesome sponsor, c60evo.com/YAFTV. Let me put on the little banner here. The code is YFTV for 10% off. And this is the incredible ESS60 molecule that gets through your blood-brain barrier to take the garbage out of your neurons, out of your brain, all of the crap, whether it's the shots, the chemtrails. Oh, and we just heard, by the way, that I guess they're dropping rabies vaccines in the geoengineering now. I guess they've been doing it for a couple of years quietly, but now making it more widespread, supposedly in the wild areas, to protect us from those rabid animals. Yeah, right. Chemtrails have been, increasing a lot again, right? So anyway, sorry. c60evo.com/YAFTV. Use code YFTV for 10% off. Anybody who contributes to the channel gets 15% off and a new code and link sent to you. This is the MCT oil. I love it. It's great for workouts, for anybody doing, paleo or, intermittent fasting. Just really helps with workout recovery. And, I believe it, I think it helps with, because it gives you that great fats and brain fats, helps with, food, just lowering your food intake if you're eating, carbs or whatever. But it's just fantastic. These products are amazing, and the testimonies are incredible. Huge migraine study coming out. People are reporting huge, huge great results for defeating migraines. But it's about inflammation. It is about this getting into every cell, basically, your trillions of cells, taking out the garbage with your glutathione, your melatonin, your hormones, and taking out the garbage. It is an amazing molecule. Huge people testimonies with the Turbo C, clinics buying it up by the case, nervous disorders, everything from MS to autism, etc. Just check it out. Go check out the testimonials, and you will see for yourself. So thanks so much for watching, everybody. So glad to be back with you today. We all put on God's armor. We are fighting as warriors for the Prince of Peace, and we will prevail. And we won't be going where the goblins go, unlike some other people. So you are free. I'll see you tomorrow.